Okay, that was a bit naughty of me, really. I shouldn't do that because I've jumped quite a few steps ahead there. Now, if you didn't watch the first video in this series, I think it'd be great if you went back and watched that. I'll explain what I want to achieve with this whole series of videos about Voodoo Chile, the Voodoo Chile Chronicles, right? This is episode number 2. Now, in this one, we're looking at a likely potential amp that this might have been recorded on originally, and that is a Fender Bassman. Now, there is debate as to what sort of Bassman it might have been. Was it, like I'm using here, a Tweed Bassman? This is a 1959 vintage Bassman I've got here. Or was it a contemporary silver-faced Bassman? Could it have been a black-faced Bassman? We're not really sure. At the same time, it could have also been a dual showman or a twin reverb. I can tell you one thing though, I do think it was likely a Fender amp and not a Marshall amp, because just from what I'm hearing in the room right now, this sounds a lot more like the record. Now, as I said, it was a bit naughty at the beginning. What I did there was I went into my DAW, right? My editing Logic Pro, right? And I added some plate reverb and some room reverb, which is a bit naughty, but ultimately will be necessary because the original record is not free of sort of post-production. It definitely has things added, panned in different ways, and we will have to do that. Now, I'm a complete novice when it comes to that sort of stuff, so I've got a lot of work to do on that, and that's why I just wanted to touch on that for a second, right? But what this video is really about is this the amp that I ultimately think out of all the amps I've got should be the one I concentrate on? And don't forget, we're not worried about the final tone yet because I have got to work on the guitar, what strings it's using, maybe the pickups, the exact fuzz face pedal, how the fuzz face is set, how my delay is set, what sort of reverbs I use, the playing technique, the recording techniques. There's so many things that we're going to do in the subsequent videos, but this is just a glimpse forward. I think that sounded okay. Well, no, to be honest with you, I was really excited when I heard that. Then I listened to the original record again and realized how far away from it I really am. Like, out of context, the tone I just had in that little section, you might have thought, ah, he's got it, pretty much. Not when you hear the original, right? There's something about the original that I'm nowhere near. But what we're going to do in this one, which I think is generally fun for us guitar amp loving people, is dial up this Bassman amp as close as I can get it. I'll go through 4 or 5 different settings, play a little bit, and then see if I can, by the end of the video, get an ultimate setting for this that we're going to then stick with for the foreseeable future while we tweak all those other variables and then come back and maybe have to tweak the Bassman a little bit again. So, let's go for it. Oh yeah, that's plenty loud. Blimey. I need to see what that's doing on the decibel meter in a second. But it doesn't need to be that loud in this room. So what I want to do is turn down let's turn down the bright to there. And I want to turn the bass off because it is massive. Put the mids up a bit and the presence, because I need to bring out a bit more top end. Like there's enough bottom end there. But let's see if that's done anything. Okay, I can tell straight away that that has taken away something. So I need to put that volume back and maybe put it a bit higher, but turn this one down because I've jumped the channels. So let's see what happens now. That's so much better. Just going to turn this up a tiny bit. And now I'm going to try the bass on. I've had people ask me why there's no bass on here. This amp is so bassy. But let's just put it on 3 so you can hear. Okay, that's really interesting. For this particular track, that bassiness isn't a bad thing. It's just cutting off a bit of the top end that I need. So I'm going to up the treble and the presence and the mids a little bit. I want to see what happens. Okay, I'm going to keep dialing this in without you. I'm going to come back with the final setting because actually the dials are pretty specific, aren't they? Like it's really making a difference, and I feel like I was closer on the last setting, but I just needed to tweak it a bit and I've over tweaked it. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, I think I've reached the point where I want to show you the last clip where I've got to, and I've done all those bits with the jump channels in the bright channel, and then I tried it in the normal channel, and I've played around with the settings, and I've never used the bass this high on this amp. So let's see what the final setting is. It's in the normal channel without jumping it at all. think that's as close as I've got so far. If you've noticed, there was no reverb on that. And that's a big decision I made already to take off this spring reverb pedal. He definitely wasn't using an amp with spring reverb in, and what was added in post would have been some sort of plate or room reverb, like the sort of stuff I did at the beginning, which I thought was really good fun, and something we'll get closer to nearer the end of this project. But the spring reverb is sort of colouring the sound in a way that I don't want anymore, because it's not what's going to be in the final product. So there's just no point doing that at all. And with the amp this loud, that reverb pedal going through the front of it does alter the sound quite a lot. And we need to tweak with everything without that reverb there. So that is out of the equation for now. No more Topanga reverb. But the rest of the signal chain is the same as before. The fuzz face pedal I was using, the 66 Iva, that is an original case with a beautiful new circuit in there based on, obviously, on a 66 fuzz face with some red dot NKT transistors made by Dustin Francis. And then my favorite delay, the Analog Man one. And something we'll talk about more in future is how can I get more specifically the exact amount of delay time, right? But there's some other things to talk about. First of all, it's so bloody loud. And I'm worried with this amp because it's a very old amp. It's a 59 Bassman, and I don't want to muck it up too badly. So I think that gives us a really fun opportunity. Yeah, in each video, I'm probably gonna have to play something through this as I tweak other elements of the signal chain and the guitar to make sure I'm on the right track. But then if we're playing extended bits, I think what we'll do is play through one of my other amps. And I mentioned this in the first video. I wanted to see what it would be like if Jimi Hendrix had played with a 2-Rock Classic Reverb and a Bartel Starwood and a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe and all the other amps I've got. And I think it really ties in well with his story, because if you read about his gear, up until sort of late 66 or 67 when he became much bigger, he really didn't play with great gear a lot of the time. He really struggled. He played with a lot of cheap stuff that was given to him. He would have started with sort of like K or Silvertone type things, and an Epiphone Wiltshire he played for quite a long time. He even played a lot with a Fender Jazzmaster as well. And he'd used twin reverbs before, but he'd also used a lot of small, much cheaper amps. So he tried a lot of stuff. And if he was around today, I know he would be trying everything under the sun. He was in love with all this stuff to get the tone that he wanted. And as we know, in the studio, we don't even know what he used. He would have chopped and changed around a lot. So each video will have a different amp in, and that's how I'm going to introduce that into this. I think that would be great. A few questions people sort of, or statements people made that were really helpful in comments. Someone said, what about flipping a guitar over because the pole pieces are in different places? You know, the heights are different. That's a good point, and something I'm going to have to figure out if I can do that somehow. Another amazing thing is someone who watched the first video reached out to me and is going to lend me for a week their original 69 Strat. You know, that's like the perfect guitar, basically. It's got the original pickups, the original neck, the original body. It's got a refinned body, but it's beautiful. So in the beginning of April, I'll get to have that for a week. That's really exciting. That's maybe when we can get closest to all of this. So I've got to be prepared for that. I'm actually away for 3 weeks in March, so I'm filming quite a few episodes before then. So I might be a bit rusty when I get back in the end of March, and I'll have a few days before I pick up that guitar. I'll have to practice like mad to get back into it all. What else did I want to say? Getting the exact amp setting is something that's going to take time. The reason I say that is because I have to tweak other parts of the signal chain in relation to it, right, to get it right, whether that's the guitar strings, the guitar pickup heights, the exact setting on a fuzz face. We're going to try other fuzz faces other than this one as well. Someone said, do you think the Univibe might have been on just without the actual sort of modulation? That's possible. We could try that, you know, like the preamp in there. Someone else asked, maybe you could use an overdrive or boost, even though he wouldn't have done, just to get exactly that tone. Even if I were using the exact same type of amp, I don't have his exact one. So maybe I will need to do something creative to get exactly the right sound. The other thing is we do not know how much post-processing went on. Hendrix and his engineer, Eddie Kramer, I believe, who did this one, notorious for just doing whatever they could in the studio to get the sound they wanted after the fact as well. So, you know, we've got some poetic license to play around. But yeah, I'm so excited for this, right? As you saw in the first video. Thanks for the reaction on that. here's my take to finish this video off is definitely the Bassman is more suitable than the JTM45. Even if in some ways I thought the JTM maybe even sounded better, the Bassman sounds like the record a lot more. There's something about a Fender amp, it does sound like that record, right? It's got a little bit more of a scoop. It's got a bit more high end. It's got a different type of low end. It's a bit more expansive and woolly. So I think ultimately when I do the final thing, the Bassman is going to be a part of that. I think it has to be. Unless I can get my hands on a silver face Bassman or a black face one and see if maybe he was using one of those. Or the dual showman, as he was also using dual showman amps at the time. But yeah, I'm super fascinated with all this. Keep leaving me your comments and suggestions and ideas, because I want to do as many funky ideas in this series as I possibly can. But first step in the next video is to try out some Jimi strings. These are the nickel plated steel ball end hex core ones. I believe you can get some even more vintagey ones within the same series of strings, so I'll also probably try those. But yeah, it may not be the longest video, but we've got to see what that does. Does it make a massive difference straight away? I'd be intrigued to find out, so I'll be back with that. These are probably going to come out one a week for now. As I said, I'm going away, so I need to space them out enough to have enough videos for you guys. But yeah, all right. I'll see you on the next one.